Well, hi guys. Thanks for joining me again this week. Hi Bill. Hi Esther. As I think you guys are the only ones who are watching, so thanks for watching. There are a few things better than a faithful big brother who he's just great. Anyway, Bill, I totally enjoyed talking to you this week. That was so cool. Yeah, just neat. Okay, hey guys. I'm really excited about being able to share this with you today. It's entitled "Completely Doable," and it's in response to last week's installment in regards to doing the suffering, service, and self-sacrifice of Isaiah 51, of doing the being crushed and grieved in regards to, again, Isaiah 51 and what we're called to do in Ephesians 5 of loving our wife in this same way Jesus gave his life for the church, his bride. And because that seems so impossible, I'm just going to stick in this next portion. What I'm going to be talking about today is the Christian life. This is how the Christian life is lived. And putting it real simply, here it is. God is in the habit, or has the habit, of designing horribly difficult, horribly painful circumstances, situations, and challenges that are too hard, too difficult, impossible for us to do, but a walk in the park for him to do and for him to do through us. This is the Christian life. I'm going to repeat this even here, but Galatians 2:20, I've been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and delivered himself up for me. Romans 5:10, much more than having been saved by his death, we shall be saved by his life. Jesus lives his life through us, through the Holy Spirit. He gives us his energy, his ability, his empowering to do the impossible things that he's called us to do. That's the Christian life. We're going to look at it later. Faithful is he who calls you, who also will do it. That's the Christian life, and it applies here. So let's jump into this. I'm probably going to be reading a lot of this because I want to get it right, but you may be saying to yourself, God, Jesus, and Paul are asking me to do too much. This business of suffering and service and self-sacrifice and being crushed and grieved in the same way Jesus was crushed and grieved in Isaiah 53, it's impossible. There's just no way. And here it is. I totally agree with you. It is impossible if you're the one doing it. If I'm the one doing it, it's impossible. But the good news is when we surrender, submit, are available, and allow him to live his life through us, he will supernaturally do it. He will do it. Now, that's not inactivity on our part, but it's supernatural, surrendered, exchanged life. That's Major Ian Thomas's phrase, an exchanged life. I expire, he inspires, Ian Thomas. I get out of the way through my submission and surrender, and he gets in the way and lives his life through us. That's the Christian life. The fear, anxiety, confusion, tiredness that you may be experiencing in your marriage could be an evidence that you are depending on yourself to either improve your marriage or to get it back or in this case, to suffer, serve, and self-sacrifice for your wife. What happens is I can't do it. It's impossible. And so then what happens is I end up living, and boy, was I there. For years, I've been there. Again, anything I share with you doesn't mean I have my act together. The reason I'm sharing it with you is because I've messed it up for years. I still struggle with fear and anxiety, but little by little in this adventure that God has me on is little by little, He's giving me the ability to hand that off. But I still struggle with fear and anxiety. Another thing that comes up is, and I'm stealing this from Tozer, we allow our reason to get in the way of our faith. We'll say things like, well, I've tried this before and it didn't work. Well, I did this and it didn't work. I did my best. I read this book and I did this and it didn't work. And so then, or we tell ourselves, well, this is impossible. Here it is. It was impossible to be divorced for 7 years and then to have God bring Lori and I back together. That's impossible. That never happens. Never happens. And yet, right before I came here, I went in there and said, hey, babe, can I have another kiss? I am so grateful for Lori. I mean, it's unbelievable what a godly, gracious, loving, kind, patient, crazy wife to stay with me Lori is. But that's what it is. And I am unbelievably grateful. But here it is. I didn't do it. I was there, but I didn't do it. When I was trying to do it in my own power, in my own knowledge, I have some schooling, I have some counseling stuff, et cetera, all the stuff I tried made it worse. Didn't make it better, it made it worse. She literally told me with tears in her eyes, I will never love you again, because I was the one doing it. When I got out of the way and realized that I couldn't do it, that's when things started to happen. That's when Lori and I started dating again. That's when God brought us back together, and I am the luckiest, most fortunate man in the world. So, there it is. I think we covered that. Just real simply, looking to ourselves is an instant recipe for success. I went down to a Christian ministry not that long ago, and a big ministry here in town. And right on the wall, they had like a whiteboard, and it was written, you just need to trust yourself more. You just need to believe in yourself more. Really? Well, that's the lie that Satan told Adam and Eve. You can do this on your own. Somebody please tell me, show me chapter and verse where it says you need to believe in yourself. You need to trust in yourself. Just do it. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and do it. Show me anywhere in the Bible where it says that. I can show you hundreds, many instances where God says that's impossible. With man, that's impossible. Over and over and over again in the Old Testament. The camels and the army were as the sands on the sea. They were, filled the entire landscape. It was impossible. And then Gideon and his 300 guys with their jars and Bic lighters wiped that horde out. Why? Because God was the one doing it. A little band of nobodies, God supernaturally creates 10 plagues in Egypt and gets them out of there. Jericho, Red Sea, etc. It's everywhere in the Bible. That's what God does. But he never says you can do this. No, that's humanism. That's the world. That's not biblical. That's not the Bible. And you're going to work really, really hard and you're going to fail. So this is doable because Jesus and God are the one doing it. If we're the only ones in the equation, we're going to fail. here's a couple of passages. With God, everything is on ourselves. It's impossible. With God, everything's possible. That's Luke 1:37, Philippians 4:13. That's everywhere in the Bible. I think I said this, but I'm just going to throw out some verses. You can check it out yourself. Mark 11:23. I already did Galatians 2:20. Colossians 1:29. That's Paul saying, I labor according to his mighty power that works within me. I labor. I don't just sit there and say, here, let go and let God, but I move forward believing and trusting that he is going to do it. My hope is in him, not in me. My hope is in him, not some book. Yes, I'm going to be promoting a book. Yes, I'm going to be promoting Just Love Her. Or is it God's good plan to crush and grieve you? But this is powerless. This is nothing. God might choose to use the information. I hope he would. But our hope is in him. I believe it's twice. I want to say Psalms 40 and 41. 2 times in those 2 Psalms it says, my only hope is you. My only hope. I love that phrase. My only hope is you. Okay. I think we're good. I'm just going to read this one. Deuteronomy 31:8 says, do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will neither fail you or abandon you. There it is. He's going to go ahead of me. He's going to be the one to do it. He's going to go with you. He's going to be the one to do it. I already 1 Thessalonians 5:24. Faithful is he who calls you, who also will do it. I did the Romans 5:10 already. I'm going to just do this goofy little equation thing. I don't know how I made it through high school with trigonometry and algebra or whatever it was. But somehow I made it through, and I don't know how. But my little equation is E5, that's Ephesians 5, plus I53, Isaiah 53, plus me equals failure. But E5, Ephesians 5, plus I53, Isaiah 53, plus Jesus, completely doable. I'm not making promises here. I'm just saying that he can do it. If he chooses to do it, he can do it. And if he chooses not to do it, then he has a better plan for you. God never does anything that's not for our good and his glory. Never. Never. He never does anything that's not for our good and his glory. And we need to rest in that. We need to ask God to give us the ability to rest and trust in that. Now, this is an important principle, and this is helpful in regards to allowing God to do it. Jesus is talking about his impending or upcoming death and burial and resurrection in John 12, 23 to 26. Verse 24 can be really helpful and practical in regards to getting out of the way and understanding what it is to allow him to live his life through us. This is what it says. I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of wheat is planted in the soil and dies, it remains alone. But its death will produce many new kernels, a plentiful harvest of new lives. Okay? And basically what that means is I need to die to myself. I have been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. There's the principle. I need to die to my belief that I can do it. And with that death, he raises us up. You could think of it as a baptism. And when I'm raised out of the water or raised from the ground in regards to this illustration, he gives us the ability to rest and trust in him. And he does the work. I've already covered this one, so I'm not going to go over it again. We get out of the way. We allow him to get engaged. I think we're good there. I'm going to read this to make sure I get it right. We're now out of the way. We're dead. We're planted. We're festering, okay? And he's now engaged. This spiritual process of our being planted in difficult situations, such as our struggling marriage or our lost marriage, in order to get us to die to our self-reliance, makes the doing of Ephesians 5 and Isaiah 53 completely doable. When he is the one that is raised to new life in us, when he's the one that's raised to new life in us. Let's just go on. In Matthew 11:28-30, I love this one. And I'm sure you're familiar with it, but here it is. Jesus says, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you." And here it is. Let me teach you. I love that. "Because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." That's the same principle. The reason his yoke is easy, the reason the burden is light, is because he's the one doing the pulling. I'm in the yoke with him, but I am so weak, Paul said, when I'm weak, he's strong. Well, he is always strong, and I'm always weak. And that's a really good principle to remember. Apart from him, I can do nothing. Okay? But I don't have what it takes. I never have, and I never will. And I have to be okay with that. That is really hard in America, and it's really hard for us guys. But that is not I was once at a large national conference. I'm not going to give the name of the organization. But it was a bunch of sports. And I said, the main concern I have with your organization is, ready? You think that the one who tries the hardest, works the hardest, puts the most effort in wins, as like in a sport. But that's not Christianity. Christianity is the one who surrenders, the one who submits, the one who dies to self, the one who lives by faith. What's faith? The attitude that lets him do it. Why? Because I can't. That's faith. See, those are the winners. Those are the ones that God works his will through, not those who try harder. That's Romans 3, 4, and 5. The Jews got it wrong. They have an enthusiasm for, but they don't understand the law and how Christianity works. They stumbled over the stumbling block. And what's the stumbling block? They believe that if they obeyed all the laws, which they could never do, Galatians tells us that, Galatians 3, they believe that if they obeyed all the laws perfectly, then God would work through them. That's not how he works. That's not at all how he works. You know what? I am already out of time. I'm going to get the most important stuff here. I think I've covered that. Well, I already did this, but I'm going to say it again. This is why Paul could say of his weaknesses, "So now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses, so the power of Christ will work through me. That's why I take pleasure in my weaknesses and in the insults, hardships, persecutions, and troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, then he is strong." And ready? It's the exact same thing in our marriage. When I'm weak and I don't have all the answers, God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble. That's when he does his work. So, suffering, service, and self-sacrifice for our wives in marriage is completely doable. Allowing God to crush and grieve us for the sake of our separated, struggling, or divorced marriage is completely doable when we get out of the way and let him do it. Okay, that's it for today. Dare to hope, dare to hope, dare to hope. I think that's Lamentations 3:21. Dare to hope. There's the little sign. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I can get an installment in next week.